By the winter of 1982, Bruce Springsteen was one of the most undeniable forces in American music. For a decade, he'd written about ordinary people, factory workers, restless dreamers, and runaways searching for something better just beyond the horizon. And now, looking out from the stage, it seemed he'd finally found that elusive promised land himself. The River had gone multi-platinum, and the E Street Band was selling out vast arenas across the country. The music industry, the fans, and the sheer momentum of his career all pointed in a single, inevitable direction. Bigger songs, bigger crowds, and another triumphant rock album. What do you say? Shall we go? Instead, Bruce Springsteen went home. He retreated to a quiet, rented house in Colts Neck, New Jersey, simply to make a demo tape. He wanted a space where he could write without the crushing weight of expectation, to capture the exact emotional frequency of his ideas before handing them over to the immense power of the E Street Band. Waiting for him in the shadows of a spare bedroom was not a wall of amplifiers or a team of engineers. There was only one acoustic guitar, a harmonica, a spiral notebook, and a 4-track cassette machine. The room was entirely ordinary, but Bruce didn't walk into that room empty-handed. Beneath the roaring success of the recent tours, he brought with him a growing, profound darkness that no amount of success had been able to silence.
I saw her standing on her front lawn, just a twirling her baton.
There's a reason we're still talking about Nebraska more than 4 decades after its release. The mythology surrounding its creation is seductively simple. Bruce Springsteen records a cassette of sparse demos in New Jersey. He takes them into a world-class studio with the E Street Band, and he finds, against all conventional wisdom, that these songs just can't be improved. But I've never found that explanation entirely satisfying. The cassette tape that Bruce carried into the Power Station studio in the early months of 1982 was not merely a rough sketch. It contained 15 songs, captured on a simple 4-track tape machine. Some of these sketches, like Born in the USA, would eventually be transformed into defining stadium anthems, while others would be lost in the archives for decades. Yet 10 of these songs stubbornly refused to become anything else other than what they already were. Of course, nobody knew that at the time. As far as Bruce was concerned, the cassette had served its utilitarian purpose. It had captured his ideas before they slipped away into the ether, and the real work was only now just beginning. Inside one of the finest recording studios in New York City, these fragile acoustic songs were handed over to the formidable power of the E Street Band. The arrangements inevitably grew richer. Pianos filled empty spaces, electric guitars replaced haunting silence, and heavy drums gave the narratives a driving, muscular weight. Every instinct, every lesson learned, every year of professional experience pointed the musicians in the exact same direction. They were doing exactly what was required to make a great rock and roll record, which is precisely why the ultimate failure of those sessions makes so little logical sense. With every new layer applied in the studio, something vital and intangible quietly slipped away. It was not a failure of melody or lyricism, nor was it a failure of performance, for the band had never been stronger. It was the loss of intimacy that can only exist when a man's alone in a room with absolutely no one left to impress. Somewhere along the turnpike between a rented house in Colts Neck and a pristine studio in Manhattan, the songs stopped feeling like private confessions and began sounding like public performances. Bruce would later realize that every attempt to remake them and strengthen them was only hollowing them out. Not because the musicians were lacking, but because the unfinished versions had miraculously already achieved completion. Now, if Nebraska was simply a concept album about murderers, I do not believe it would have endured in the cultural memory for 40 years. It would likely be remembered as an anomalous, morbid detour in Springsteen's career, a dark transitional phase wedged between the sprawling exuberance of the river and the commercial juggernauts of Born in the USA. But the more time one spends sitting with this record, the more apparent it becomes that this album is not really about crime at all. Bruce is far less interested in the violent act than he is in the damaged human standing just behind it. Consider the opening title track, inspired by the infamous killing spree of Charles Starkweather. If you listen carefully, Bruce offers almost no details into the killings themselves. He refuses to sensationalize the tragedy, nor does he attempt to offer a neat psychological excuse for it. Instead, he does something much more unsettling. He allows Starkweather to speak for himself, not as a headline-grabbing monster, but as a chillingly ordinary person. This is a profoundly dangerous thing for a songwriter to attempt. When you allow a killer to speak in the first person, you run the terrible risk of an audience mistaking empathy for sympathy. But Bruce is not asking us to forgive these characters. He's asking us to look at them, to understand how frighteningly close they are to the rest of us, and to recognize the thin, fragile line that separates an ordinary life from complete ruin. Once you hear the album through that lens, the entire landscape of Nebraska shifts. Johnny 99 is no longer just a song about a cold-blooded shooting. It's a portrait of a man whose life has collapsed so entirely that violence becomes the final, desperate flailing of someone who can no longer perceive a way forwards.
Well, Your Honor, I do believe I'd be better off dead. And if you can take a man's life for the thoughts that's in his head, and won't you sit back in that chair, think it over, Judge, one more time, and let him shave off my hair and put me on the execution line.
Highway Patrolman uses the framework of the law to explore the agonizing collision between a man's sworn duty and his unconditional loyalty to a fractured family. Even the quietest songs on the record, like Used Cars or My Father's House, where no blood is spilled, carry the exact same suffocating weight. They are masterful explorations of shame, pride, and the quiet, crushing disappointments that ordinary people carry in their bones without ever finding the words to speak of them. And what binds every character on this record together is the tragic sense of inevitability. They all seem to be careering towards this cliff edge that they can clearly see approaching, yet they are entirely powerless to change course. Perhaps this is why the bedroom recordings are the only way these stories could survive. They don't sound like rehearsed performances, they sound like stray thoughts, like haunted conversations we were never meant to overhear. And from the perspective of a sound engineer, the goal is always to capture perfection, to eliminate noise, reduce flaws, and tightly control the acoustic environment. Nebraska quietly argues the exact opposite. It proves that sometimes the imperfections are not obstructing the performance, they are the performance. The steady hiss of the cassette tape, the shifting sounds of the room, the stark distance between Bruce and the microphone. None of it distracts from the truth itself. If anything, the bleakness of the audio makes you believe them even more. And this is why these songs could never be remade, and why they had to be released exactly as they were captured in that cold bedroom. They possessed the only thing that truly mattered: the cold truth. It's a truth most starkly realized near the end of the title track, when Starkweather offers the only explanation he is capable of giving for the ruin he has caused. He offers no profound poetry, just a single, quiet observation before the darkness closes in. Sir, I guess there's just a meanness in this world. It's tempting to attribute the enduring mystique of Nebraska to its peculiar birth. We are naturally drawn to the romance of the bedroom recording, the malfunctioning cassette deck, and the elusive tape which sat in Bruce's back pocket for weeks walking around. But if the lo-fi acoustic texture was the sole virtue of the record, it would be remembered today as a historical curiosity, a technical footnote in the sprawling biography of an American icon. Instead, it feels as vital or necessary as anything Bruce has committed to tape. This is an album fundamentally concerned with isolation. It's populated by ordinary men and women carrying immense psychological burdens that they have no vocabulary to express. They are trapped in fading industrial landscapes, on the edges of vast highways, and within the lonely corridors of their own minds. When I listen to Nebraska today, it's difficult not to hear the echoes of the darkness Bruce would later describe so openly, translated here into an American masterpiece of almost unbearable honesty. In his residency on Broadway, Bruce offered a profound reflection on the depression he witnessed as a child, and how it shaped the very foundation of his art. He observed that when we do not receive the love that we desire, we often end up emulating those who withheld it. He confessed that when he went looking for a voice to tell his stories, he chose his father's voice, believing there was something sacred within it. He shared a recurring dream where he steps down from a stage, kneels next to his late father in the aisle, and watches the man on fire up under the lights. Recalling how his father used to sit at the kitchen table for years, entirely unreachable in a state of profound depression.
I woke and I imagined the hard things that pulled us apart.
What do you want?
We'll never again, sir,
Just to hear your voice.
tear us from each other's hearts. I got dressed.
Bruce brushes his father's forearm and says,
And I say, look, Dad, that guy on stage. And that's how I see you.
Hearing him speak those words changes the architecture of Nebraska. It suggests that beneath the stark, journalistic distance of these murder ballads and highway laments, there's a deeply personal excavation taking place. The men staring out from these songs are often crippled by the same quiet despair that Bruce saw at the kitchen table. Nowhere is this more devastatingly realized than on My Father's House, a song that captures the awful permanence of distance between a parent and a child. The violence of the earlier tracks gives way to a lingering ache, a realization that our deepest wounds are not inflicted by malice, but by absence, and by the sheer inability to reach across the divide of a small room. But understanding why Bruce Springsteen wrote these songs is not the same as understanding why we're still listening to them. You see, great art survives because it helps each successive generation understand something about themselves. In 1982, the characters of Nebraska were navigating a landscape of laid-off workers, fractured families, and forgotten towns. Today, more than 40 years later, those landscapes remain entirely recognizable. The songs do not feel like period pieces. They feel like mirrors. You can see the proof of resonance everywhere. It's why people are still writing books about these bedroom sessions. It's why fans still eagerly await archival vinyl box sets, still fiercely debate the mythical Electric Nebraska studio sessions recently released on the Nebraska 82 box set, and why Hollywood is still making feature films like Deliver Me From Nowhere. We're still trying to solve the mystery of this record because it feels as though the story is not quite finished. The fascination has long since outgrown the cassette tape. Perhaps that's why we still keep returning to Nebraska. Not to definitively solve its mysteries, but to simply sit with them. To spend 40 or so minutes in the company of people we would normally cross the road to avoid. To hear, beneath the terrifying headlines and the violent crimes that heavy silence, something painfully familiar. The malfunctioning cassette deck mattered. The quiet bedroom mattered. The texture mattered. But those were only circumstances that allowed the songs to exist in the first place. What keeps Nebraska alive is not the tape, it's the compassion. So, ultimately, we're still talking about this album because it forces us to see humanity where it's easiest to stop looking.
They declared me unfit to live. Set into that great void, my soul be heard. You want to know why I did what I did? Well, sir, I guess there's just a meanness in this world.